Right, so we're going to make some lovely choux pastry. Okay, so and then we're going to do a couple of different things with it. We're going to make some chocolate eclairs. We're going to make some palais brest. Okay, so it's a bit like a shape of a donut, and we're going to make some choux buns with some crackling topping. Okay, but I'll go through that with you in a little while. We'll sort out the choux pastry base first. Okay, so it's milk, butter. We're going to gently melt the butter and the milk, okay, and then bring it to the boil. Then we're going to add our flour, so this will make our pastry or our paste. Okay, so it's obviously a hot pastry, and then we're going to add eggs to it later when it's cooled down. And obviously we're going to pipe it onto some trays, obviously in chocolate eclair shapes or donut shapes, which I'll show you for the palais brest. And we're going to make some choux buns as well, some bit bigger than a profiterole, all right, with a nice crispy top. So the first job is to melt the butter in the milk. Okay, there's a little pinch of salt in there. Okay, so we need to melt the butter before we bring the milk to the boil. Okay, we don't want any evaporation, so we don't want to lose any of our milk to evaporation. Okay, so just gentle warm until the butter is melted. Then we're going to bring it to the boil, and we're going to add our flour. Okay, so it's going to take a couple of minutes. You can just stir it a little bit. I'm using an induction hob. You can use a gas stove, absolutely fine. Okay, so just going to let that melt for 2 minutes, and then we'll come back. So our butter is now all melted in our milk. I've now turned the temperature up. We're now going to bring this to a boil. Okay, and as soon as it comes to a boil, it's going to start to emulsify. So as you can see at the moment, the butter is a little bit split from the milk. Okay, so as it boils, it will emulsify, and that's when we're going to add our flour. And we're going to cook it out for about 5 minutes until we get a nice dough. Okay, and it comes away from the pan. So we'll just wait for this to boil. As you can see, our milk and our butter has now come to the boil. Okay, so it's started to emulsify. We're now going to put our flour, so plain flour, in here. And this is how we make our pastry. Okay, so now we got to keep mixing. Okay, it's going to look a little bit lumpy for a few seconds. Okay, but then it's all going to come together a bit like a dough, and then we're just going to cook it out. Okay, we'll cook it out because we need to cook the flour a little bit. Okay, and it needs to coagulate together. Okay, so it's got to make a nice thick paste. So as you can see, I'm beating it nice and fast and hard. Okay, obviously make sure it's not too hot because we don't want to obviously burn our pan. As you can see, it's all come together, making sure there's no lumps of flour in there. Okay, and then we're just going to cook this out for about 3 or 4 minutes, okay, until it comes away from the pan, which it nearly is already. Okay, it's a bit hard for me. I'm using an induction hob because obviously the bottom of the pan will actually burn much easier. Okay, so we're cooking it out, we're working that gluten in the flour. Obviously, the gluten in the flour is going to add structure, okay, to our choux pastry. So when it cooks, it's going to evaporate the liquid that's in the milk, and obviously the eggs are going to add to the rise as well. So we're there. Okay, so it's come away from the sides of the pan. As you can see, it's all together, it's nice and smooth. All right, we're going to turn off the induction hob, and now we're just going to leave that to the side. It needs to cool for about half an hour. It needs to be warm but not boiling hot because we want the eggs to incorporate in our dough, not to cook as we are putting it into our dough. Okay, so I'm going to put it to the side for half an hour. So now our choux pastry is nice and cold. Okay, we're going to put it into a mixing bowl, and then we'll gently incorporate our eggs. Okay, so it's nice and cold. Okay, it's a little bit warm, but no, it's not freezing cold. We don't want it too cold. Okay, obviously, because if not, the eggs won't mix in very well. We're going to gently add our eggs in the mixer. You can do it by hand if you wish. So we add an egg at a time. Okay, so there's 8 eggs. We need to add an egg and bring it back to a mix. Okay, so make sure it's incorporated well. It might need all 8 eggs. It might not need 8 eggs, but it might need more. But I'll show you the trick at the end. Okay. This is the choux paste after all our eggs are incorporated. Okay, and I'm going to show you the trick. So you may need more eggs, but it's always better to put less in first. So what we're looking for, what I've always been taught, okay? We get a spoonful of mixture, and then we turn it on the side and we count and see it should get about 10 then drop. So 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so we'll do it one more go. Okay, so spoonful, we're going to turn it on the side and count to 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and it drops. So obviously if it's not dropping off your spoon after 10, you need a little bit more egg. All right, we don't want to get to the point where it drops too soon. So a little bit of egg at a time, test it, add a bit more, okay? Because we can add, we can't take away. So this is all ready to be piped now, and I'll show you how to pipe it.